Hi everyone, today I want to show you a fun new technique I stumbled across, which I call faux flocking, and it's going to show you how to create your own fun flock. So why don't we get started? First thing you're going to need is something like a powder pal to catch all your flock in, a scrap piece of cardstock, and a very sharp pair of scissors. The technique you use to get your fun flock is exactly the same as you would use for distressing your cardstock. So you're going to take your straight edge, the edge of your scissors, and you're just going to start rubbing your scissors along the edge of the cardstock. And I don't know if you can see here the fine fuzzy stuff that comes off the edge of the cardstock. Now once you notice that you start to get more chunks than fine fuzz, you can then just switch sides and work along another side. Now once you've accumulated quite a bit of your fine cardstock fuzz, you're just going to take your finger and just push it into the center of your tray. Now the thing I love about this technique is that really your flocking colors are now endless. As many different colors of cardstock as you have, you can create fun flock. So once you've done that, you're going to set aside your flocking until you're ready to use it. Now I've already gone ahead and pre-stamped and colored my image, and it's the bird from the Pun Fun stamp set, which I've colored with some Barely Banana Watercolor Wonder crayon. I highlighted with some Summer Sun, and I also added some pumpkin pie and some Tempting Turquoise. And then lastly, I stuck on some googly eyes, which I bought from the dollar store. Now, when you're doing your flocking technique, once you decide on where you want the flock, so in this case it's going to be the belly of the bird, you want to make sure that you color it in, so that if any white spots are left, the color is going to show through. You're not going to see the white of your cardstock. So I'm going to grab my flocking that I created, and I'm going to need crystal effects. And when I'm using it, when I'm working with it, I keep the top stoppered with a pin. So I'm just going to gently squeeze my bottle so that I get a glob of crystal effects on the belly of the bird, and then I'm going to use initially the tip of my bottle to move that crystal effects around. And you want to make sure you keep it as to the inside of the area you want the flocking on, but as close to the lines as you can possibly get it. Now, I'm not squeezing any more out, I'm just using it to spread the crystal effects. You can also use your pin if you want. You're now going to grab your powder pal that has the flocking in it, and you're going to make sure that you have your flocking all gathered together in a pile, and you're going to flip your image upside down over the flocking, and you're going to press it into the flocking you created. Now once you've done that, you're going to pick it up and you can see you have a whole bunch of it stuck to it. You just want to take your fingernail and very gently start pulling off the flocking that you have around the image that you covered in the crystal effects. So you don't want to push at it or poke at it too much, because otherwise you're going to ruin the effect that you have. Now, if you'd like, you can also flip it upside down on your tray and just press it a little bit just to make sure that it's really stuck there into the glue. So once you're happy with your effect, you're going to set that aside for just a moment. And you're going to go ahead and grab your card front piece. I've already sponged the edges with Tempting Turquoise cardstock, and then as you can probably see in the camera, I dry embossed it using my Big Shot and one of the textures plates, and then I inserted 2 silver brads. Now I'm going to use a strip of this striped pumpkin pie grosgrain ribbon, and in order to make sure that it stays where I want it to, I'm going to take a little bit of my snail adhesive, which is a double-sided adhesive, and I'm just going to apply a little bit to the ribbon. I'm now going to make sure my card is lined up with my grid paper, and I want my ribbon to stretch across about 3 squares from the bottom, so that's about 3/4 of an inch. Oops. I'm going to shift my ribbon over there for a sec, and then just gently press it down along the surface, and you now flip your cardstock piece over, and you now need to apply a little bit of snail, and you're going to stick your ribbon ends down. There you go. You're now going to take your bird, and you're going to need a scallop circle, and I already die cut this out using my Big Shot and the pennant die. that Stampin' Up! Sells. And I want to mount my bird to my scallop circle using Stampin' Dimensionals. And I'm actually going to place the Stampin' Dimensionals right on my mat rather than on my bird because it makes it a little bit easier to push down and stick without ruining the flocking effect. So once you have your dimensionals, you just center and stick your bird onto your scallop circle. Now I'm going to hold it over my ribbon for placement and then stick my finger at the scallop where I want my dimensional to be for the back, because I want to make sure that the dimensional straddles the ribbon rather than ending up directly on the ribbon. So I'm just going to check for placement here and then peel the backing off my dimensional. Oops, my dimensional is stuck down too far. And then you're going to stick your bird on your card. Now, I just noticed that I forgot to stamp my greeting, and I always like to stamp my greeting before I do my main image, so thankfully I didn't press that down yet, so I can just very carefully pull that off and set that aside for a sec. And I'm going to use my Stamp-A-Majig to stamp my greeting on there. I'm using the Celebrate You stamp from A Little Birthday Cheer. Now sometimes when I'm using my Stamp-A-Majig, I like to make sure that my card is stuck to my mat so that it doesn't move around. So I just place a little snail on it so that it doesn't shift. Just grabbing my stamp and inking it up. Now you align your tool with the edge of the plastic. Sorry, I'm just going to lean in there for a sec so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, once you have it placed, you remove your imaging sheet, ink up your stamp, and then slowly and carefully press straight down, straight up. Now one of the things you will notice when you stamp on embossed or texturized cardstock that sometimes your image is not as clear as it would be if you stamped on flat cardstock. So I'm now going to take my image and I'm going to position it onto my card front. And then I'm now going to grab my card and I'm going to put my snail adhesive directly onto my card. That way I don't have to flip this upside down and risk ruining my flocking effect. So then you take your mat and you center it onto your card front. I'm going to hold it up here so I can see what I'm doing. And then you just press it down. And there you have it. Your card's done. It's a fun, quick, easy technique, and it opens up a world of color possibilities with your fun flock, because now every color of cardstock you have, you can create matching fun flock with it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I look forward to stamping with you again.